I want to say a few words about the Epstein matter. And probably many of you are not going to like what I have to say. But, I always try to call it as I see it. And I may not be right, I may not be wrong, but you're going to know that when I tell you something is how I actually feel about it. And I'm not saying things to score political points with anybody. I couldn't care less. Generally speaking, I'm a Democrat because I think that on balance, when you follow the facts, and you follow what I consider decent philosophy, and you look at the accomplishments of the Democratic Party with Social Security, controlling the Federal Deposit Insurance Company, regulating the stock market, Medicare, Social Security, all of those things came about from the Democratic Party, and the Republicans fought them every step of the way. So, but I don't always side with the Democrats either. A lot of things Democrats do I don't care for, particularly when it comes to this diversity and equity, whatever, inclusion. I don't believe that one group of people should be sacrificed for the benefit of another group of people because of their race. And that kind of giving people promotions and places in school and so on, and taking those away from other people who may deserve them more, I think is morally wrong. So, but the latest thing has to do with this Epstein situation. And I've been watching the hearings. I watch a lot of hearings. And the Democrats, when they were questioning Pam Bondi, who was really obnoxious, I can't stand her. But that doesn't forgive other people from what I consider to be misconduct. And what the Democrats, almost to a person, were doing with their questioning of her was assuming that there had been people other than Epstein who had sexual relations with minors, which is statutory rape. And they kept talking about, well, did you investigate these other people to see if they were, who all these wealthy, powerful people were who were having essentially committing statutory rape with these young girls? And they were hammering her time and again. Did you do investigation? Did you do this? And the implicit assumption, even though it wasn't explicitly stated, it was clearly implied that that there was a cover up here to cover up the horrible behavior by all of these powerful people who would hang out with Epstein. Well, the problem with that is I have yet to hear, and I have now started focusing on this because I was like, what's going on here? There's, there should be people there who are women who have all these victims come to the hearings and they all sit back there and they, will you turn around and point to these people and apologize and this, that, and that? Well, you'd expect that those people would come forward and say, yes, when I was below the age of 18, I had sexual intercourse or any kind of sexual relations with men or a man who was not Daniel, Epstein, who wasn't Epstein. Because we all know Epstein did it. He was convicted, either hanged himself or he was murdered in jail. We know about him, but I have yet to hear anybody say that when I was over there and I was under 18, I had sexual relations with somebody who wasn't Daniel Epstein. And then they get Gloria Allred out there, and she sits there and she's got this client of hers who was apparently molested by what's his name? I forgot his name already. Epstein. She was apparently molested by Epstein, and Epstein's paying the price. But when they put her on there, it's always in the context of all these other people. And yet, she's never said that she had sexual relations with anybody who wasn't Epstein. She just implies that other people have, nor does she say anybody told her that. So we don't even have a second-hand hearing, and yet the media talks about that all the time. And I thought until I started really focusing on what they were saying or not saying, that this was a widespread knowledge that there were people who had not been identified who had been having relations with these people when they were below the age of 18. And now I'm saying, you know what? I don't think they actually have any evidence that any of that happened. I don't think Epstein was stupid enough to involve other men in doing what he was doing. Yeah, I think he was. We know he was acting basically like a pimp, and he was introducing these men to young women, but not children. And yet, I just I thought that, and said if I can think them not listening like really like a lawyer, that was what was going on. Well, everybody else must think it too. Maybe they don't. Or maybe you know something I don't know. So if I don't know, so if I am saying that there's no evidence that I've seen, it doesn't mean there isn't any evidence. Maybe you've seen some, and if you have, I'd like to hear from you. But in the meantime, let's stop jumping to conclusions because it may or may not be somebody's political advantage. And of course, the Republicans did that for years. Biden was covering up for all of these people, and now it's Trump is covering up for all these. Now the Democrats are saying Trump was covering up. Stop it already. If you got facts, talk about facts. I don't care what party you're from. If you don't have facts, don't act like you do. And that's all I have to say about that. And I'll be back when I'm in a better mood later. Not that bad of a mood. I just don't like it. I don't like dishonesty. I don't like intellectual dishonesty. I don't tolerate it in the courtroom. That's one of the things I like about being a trial lawyer. I don't have to tolerate it in the courtroom. But when I'm watching the news and watching TV and watching the opinions, and I kind of have to tolerate it, or I can't watch it because I have no control over it. How sad is that? Bye.